Hey yo, welcome back to the Boston Sports Brothers podcast, fully loaded bro show this evening, gentlemen. How are you?
What's going
Yo,
Good evening,
on?
good evening, good
yeah, we doing,
evening.
boys?
What's cooking?
It's good to see
Happy
you,
Monday.
everybody. Happy Monday. Full week of work, no holiday weekend this weekend, so feel like we're coming
Yeah.
off a good weekend, and the weather starting to turn just a hair, starting to melt a little bit. It's good to see. Got
Fall
puddles
spring.
everywhere.
Fall spring is upon us.
50s on the horizon.
50s on the horizon.
Fall spring.
Fall
The
spring.
shorts are coming out.
I don't even know if we can call it fall spring, but just nicer weather, warmer
Yes.
air. We'll take it all. Get rid of this.
Ice is melting. That is a positive. There
Yeah,
was a lot of ice from last week.
it's
The sun.
Timberland boot season, that's for sure. That's for sure. It's maybe LL Bean, whatever your preference is, but our preference tonight is getting started with the Boston Celtics, and then we're going to dive right into NHL and 4 Nations recap. But let's start because that's the latest show that was in town was the Celtics yesterday as they take on the New York Knicks, and the final score really wasn't indicative of how that game went as the Celtics take care of business. And then they also put a beat down on the Philadelphia 76ers to come back after the All-Star break. So Big E, take it away. Thoughts on the Celtics, overall themes from these two games that have occurred? Any takeaways from All-Star Weekend? Although I think we covered it last weekend, but the floor is yours, my friend.
They took right. They took off or like they started exactly like they left off. They came out and they absolutely pounded the absolute crap out of the 76ers and the Knicks. Did the games get a little competitive at certain points? Yeah, but I think for those of us who watched both games in totality, it was really never in question. And like this team is kind of in a position right now where they literally can turn it on. Everyone is in a good spot health wise right now. It was nice to be able to see guys like Drew have a pretty good game the other night. Peyton Pritchard, is using some fuel for the fire about not going to All-Star Weekend. I know that there was some talk in the group here about him turning down the three-point contest, but holy moly, is he showing what he can do and why he's the front runner for the six man of the year. But uh this team, I honestly I ain't scared of the Cavs. I think in a 7-game series, if we're fully healthy, I still think we're the better team. The Cavs are a great team, though. Want to give them credit, but I still think we're the better team.
I'm way
Gabe, you got the
more.
sweatshirt on tonight.
I do. I'm repping the one team that deserves it right now, probably. uh, yeah, I mean, I think it starts with two words, and it's Jason Tatum. Like he's also just been balling out. Um, Looking like he wants to become a top candidate for the MVP award as well. I think maybe between him and SGA, they could be going at each other towards the end of the season here, vying for the MVP. I don't know who else I mean,
Jokic.
obviously like Jokic and I mean Embiid has fallen off, but
He's
I
not
think
even
It's those three.
eligible. You
oh
Giannis.
got to play the 65 games. He's
yeah.
never going to be eligible.
What about
I think it's
Giannis?
Gian. Yeah, it's Giannis, Jokic, SGA, and then Tatum, I think, right now.
So like Tatum is becoming an all-around complete player and in like just it's really amazing to watch. I mean, he's starting to get these triple doubles more often. Even on nights when he's not getting a triple double, he's one rebound or one assist away from that mark. So I'm loving JT right now. I think he's on the up. If he just starts averaging triple doubles from here
Hmm.
on out, which he is totally capable of doing, we're in for a fun end of the season and start of the playoffs.
Yeah,
He is
I
such
mean, he
a
went two
Go
for
ahead.
seven. The night he went 2 for 7 from three and wasn't really shooting that well. I think he had 15 points. He still grabbed 11 boards and put out, 9 assists. And I mean, that's if you're doing that, you're impacting the game in a major way. And that just goes to show that he's really elevated his game from where he was at the Olympics and in the finals to, becoming an even more complete overall player. So kudos to him. He just keeps elevating to getting higher and higher and higher. Go
He's
One
ahead,
thing that
constantly
Jamie.
I've
working on his game. Like
one
his trainer Drew Hanlon came out recently and said like they focused in on his shot after the Olympics. So like the dude is not satisfied with where he is right now. He's going to continue to get better. Sorry, Josh.
No, I was just gonna say one thing that I've been really liking with Tatum and his development is that the two-man game of him and KP when they're doing the pick and roll and they're going to double Tatum when he's going to drive and he just pops it right out to KP who's up top and it's like a 15-footer for him when he's right at the top of the three-point line. And you just love to see that. And KP is I think he's the difference maker I think this year because this time last year he was not on the court. He wasn't, he wasn't doing what he's doing right now. He's Eric, like you said, you saw him in action in the flesh and the unicorn, and it was really something else. And I'm really excited to see what he can do in the playoffs, and health as well for this team. If they can stay healthy, like you said, Eric, there's no team that can beat them in a 7 game series, and I think that they're really starting to show that. Joe Mazzulla said that the season starts now, and I think we can all really see that they came out hot. The Sixers didn't stand a chance against them, and then also the Knicks. I mean, both games were just complete, just men against boys. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the next month and right into the playoffs, and it's going to be a wild ride. So buckle up, everyone. It'll be
Yeah,
crazy.
this team is definitely poised. I love the Tatum talk. I think the thing that I've seen is that he's making everybody on the team around him better. I look at a player like Luke Cornett in the two-man game that he's developed with somebody
Oh
like
yeah.
him. Porzingis goes off, and Cornett has just become like a threat off the bench. When we were talking a lot about Neemias Queta at the beginning of the year, Cornett has really come on strong. I think he's played in almost like 40 straight games, so he's become a legitimate, rotation player. Uh, we got to give credit to Jaylen Brown as well. I think he's really taken his game to another level. And both Tatum and Brown in recent after game comments, I loved what JT said to whoever the sideline reporter was yesterday. She said, "What does the team need to do to keep the season going the way that it is?" And he said, "We got to keep our foot on the gas." And I'm like, "Fuck yes!" Like this team is ready to go and take another championship. And as Gabe was saying, like they want to be looked at as, or Tatum wants to be looked at as one of these top players of all time. Championships is how it's going to be judged. He gets so much hate for no reason across the national landscape. And it's like, honestly, just keep it coming because if this is how he's going to play and this is what he's going to bring night in and night out, like this team
Well, he's drama
is,
free,
yeah,
and
he's,
people
well,
don't like the drama free thing. And you know what? I would rather have it drama free and have him be cold. And I'm not gonna talk. I'm just gonna let my words. I'm just gonna let my actions do the talking. And that's what he's
Absolutely.
doing right now.
I just don't get why people hate him. He's a great dude. He's a great teammate, great father, from
Because
all
no
intents and
drama.
purposes, great
he's
son.
boring.
Like,
It's
but
boring.
but like that's what makes him a great role model. And I think
Yeah.
like, I know Charles Barkley said, not everyone is meant to be a role model, and I'm not a role model, but like, what's wrong with Jason Tatum? I think he's what, a lot of players should strive to be like.
And
He's
let's
got a
just say
perfect
that
inside outside game. What is wrong with him?
and let's just say that, to us, he's not boring at all. Like, you just kind of described, the ins and outs of his game as a Boston fan. He's not boring. I guess on the national level, to some people, he's boring because he doesn't talk and he doesn't make a fuss about things. But I mean, I've just, from drafting him and seeing him dunk on LeBron to where he is now, it's just like it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy to see the progression of this kid
I
take
think
off
that
into a full grown man now.
the national narrative too of like people that don't just like the Celtics, that it also plays into them not liking Tatum too. So I don't know. I think they're like they have a lot of championships. People just don't, they don't love that. It's kind of, so that definitely has to play a factor into why people don't like Tatum. But I love him. I think he's great, drama free. But when he gets on the court and he gets a call that he knows that was wrong, he gets a spark. He starts talking to the ref. It affects his game. He had a huge dunk against the Knicks. I don't know if some you guys saw it. He turned around and just like went off. Like he does show passion, but I think it's his interviews where he doesn't like
Well,
come across as that like that personality.
and I think that's interesting, Josh, because like I think going back like 2, 3, 4 years ago, the frustration with Tatum was him showing emotion sometimes on the court because it would be about a call that he complained about, and he would, not get back on defense. It's funny to see how things really like turn, and how like someone like him, who we all complained about that, and does he do that from time to time? Still, he absolutely does, but he does more of the latter of what you were talking about, where he comes out and takes that like fire, that energy, and puts it towards something else, like a ferocious jam or a sick pass. Like it's the maturation of his game and just where he is now compared to where he was.
Gabe, jump in.
I mean, for me, it's like you see Jason Tatum interacting with other players on the court and like his family, and he's it looks like people are really love the guy. I mean, who are we to say, or who are other people to hate on Tatum when they don't even really know who he is as a person, probably. And it's fine if he wants to. He's a superstar. I mean, it's there's no doubt about it. He's a superstar, but he just doesn't have those superstar qualities like Anthony Edwards per se, I say would be like the complete opposite of Tatum. Like just so outward with his emotions
Too much
and
so sometimes.
right, exactly. And for Tatum, I mean, I guess it could go too much so like of not looking like he gives a shit, but at the end of the day, you know he gives a fucking shit, and he wants to make a mark in the league, and he is doing so currently.
How many other star players have had their favorite McDonald's, the one on Soldiers Field Road, put up a sign for them that says, "Congratulations to one of our favorite, patrons, Jason Tatum." I mean, that says it all right there.
Yeah,
Like when
you're
you're
on
at
the
local
marquee,
McDonald's,
when you're on the marquee on the Soldiers Field
Is this in St.
McDonald's,
Louis?
you've really made it.
No, it's like it's like
No,
my next door neighbor.
Yeah, it's like before what's the road? Storo Drive. It's like what
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
before it turns into Storo. Amazing Jason Tatum talk there. I think anything else Celtics wise, I mean, I think the team is locked in. Derek White has started to turn the corner a little bit with his play and getting back to being clutch. Big E touched on
Eric,
Pritchard. Like,
on
go
Drew
ahead.
Holiday too, he touched on which
I did.
if Drew Holiday, continues to heal up from whatever injury he was dealing with and start playing to his potential, I mean, this team is really scary. I
Yeah.
mean,
Which
I,
one of
I
us said it the other day where, they think Drew's just waiting for the postseason to start and he's just going to click on the switch. Somebody said that,
Well,
and I
don't
can't agree
doubt it.
more.
I
Yeah.
think we've all said at different points, the beginning of the season, we weren't too worried about how the team was performing. A few more losses, like coming off the year that they just had. They're clearly locked in right now. They're on a
Mhm.
mission. It'll be great to sort of judge and see, does the second half of the season kind of look like what all of last season looked like for this team? Because if so, this team should be on its way to a long, successful playoff run coming up in honestly not too far away. 6, 7 weeks, the playoffs will be upon us. But there's a lot between now and then. But it's heating up. It's starting to get good. So we're going to turn our attention. We're going to reverse the clock a little
Might be
bit.
the only team we have in the playoffs
Yeah, for real. Well, we'll talk about the
this
Bruins
year at
in
least.
just a
Well,
moment, but we have
we
to
got to
go
see what the
back.
Sox do.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
well, that's true. But we got to go back to Thursday of last week where downtown Boston, TD Garden area was absolutely buzzing for, honestly, I don't know a game internationally that I've gotten up for more than that ever. And I don't
Exhibition, like
exhibition, but
nothing
like
on the line.
nothing on the line.
Bragging
Besides
rights.
pride.
A fake Stanley Cup,
Yeah,
literally.
but I was locked in. I was pumped for that game. It ends in a heartbreaking defeat for the U.S. But Gabe, dive into what was one of the most amazing sporting events of all time. Like it's weird to say, but that's how
Yeah.
I feel. We can break it down.
We were definitely all pretty amped up, I think, after the opening ceremony of that final game too. It was just like
Time out.
electric
Can
in
we
there.
touch on the anthems at some point because we got to get
Oh
into
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's for later in the show when Big E takes it away. Sorry for
Yeah,
interrupting.
a little oh yeah. Um, so basically, yeah, USA lost, unfortunately. Sidney Crosby passes the torch to Connor McDavid. McDavid scores that overtime goal to give Canada the whatever you want to call it, and the 4 Nations Cup or whatever it is. But so Canada gets bragging rights, and it's on to the Olympics, which this 4 Nations, what it does is set up the Olympics beautifully, and at least in the hockey aspect. If we get any more of these USA Canada games in the Olympics, I mean, we're in for a treat. One thing I will say is I was a little bit disappointed in the final product. I kind of wish USA saved the fisticuffs and all that fun, energetic stuff for the final game, as opposed, I mean, in retrospect, obviously, but the final game to me didn't have as much maybe flair as that part one did in the beginning with all the fights. But I mean, it's hard to live up to the hype of that. But yeah, how were you guys enjoyed it?
I thought it was a fantastic product. To your point, Gabe, I just don't think you're gonna get the fights in the championship game. Like both teams are putting it all out on the line, and they really want to win. So I think you're getting the big hits, and it was back and forth 2-2. Like I don't think you could have asked for much more in terms of like how close the game was and how evenly those teams were matched. Like those teams were, it was 50. It really was a 50-50 game. Like it truly was. And Canada, I think we can all agree has they have more of the star power. I mean, they have the McDavid, they have the McKinnons and the Makars of the world. Like they just definitely have the more talent, but the US they've really been able to develop a lot of really young great prospects. That guy Faber on Minnesota I really like.
Yeah.
Slavin's incredible for Carolina. There were just a lot of players that I knew were really good on their respective teams, but when you put them together with all of the best talent in the league and they're really producing, it's incredible to see. Like I was just really the product was great. As a hockey fan, you can't ask for much more. I was obviously disappointed that the US didn't win, but it was really awesome
Great
to see.
product. Good to
Hell
see
of a game.
Marchand win too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Marchand was on Canada, so
On his
like
home
that,
ice too. Like, come on.
yeah, that made it a little more like manageable to like enjoy the win. But
I think.
like
Sorry, Gabe.
no,
I was
I
just
was
gonna
gonna
say, like,
say
go ahead.
like without McAvoy, I felt like the ice was a little tilted towards Canada's favor, and I mean that's we could get into that too. But Eric, feel free to hop in with your thoughts on the Four Nations.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it was like extremely exciting the entire game. The fact it went to overtime, like I kind of had this feeling going into the third period, like, these teams are so evenly matched. There's a great chance it's gonna go to overtime. Once it got down to under five in the third, it kind of like it was like almost a foregone conclusion. Got there. I love the international or the playoff 5-on-5. So it was great to see that. I think if anyone is gonna beat you, if it's the best player in the world, does it still hurt? Yeah, absolutely. But does it take a little bit of this thing out? I think yeah. Like I think it would hurt more if it was Sidney Crosby who did that, to be honest. Like I think that would be like seriously again after 2010.
Yeah,
So I think, at least seeing it was McDavid, who I think we can all agree is probably the best player in hockey right now. Hats off to Canada. They played a great game. I do think the U.S. had multiple opportunities in the third and overtime to win the game. So, the only people they can look in the mirror is themselves. But for us, like, yeah, we've had the Olympics, we've had stuff like that. But I think like the most seminal like hockey, international hockey moment that existed before this was the Miracle on Ice in 1980. And I'm certainly not comparing this to that, but for our generation, this is like that kind of type of moment. So it was fun to be a part of something like that.
No doubt. I think we got to give a lot of credit to Jordan Binnington.
Oh,
He stoned Austin
God
Matthews
damn that
three
man.
times over, and that was shades of 2019
2019.
all over
Oh,
Yeah,
again.
don't remind
It
me.
it was really tough, but he fucking robbed uh Chuck and Matthews a few times. Speaking of Chuck, Matthew Chuck being out of that game was a huge problem. I don't know if he should have played, to be quite honest, if he was injured and couldn't go. Um, so that, and then as Gabe talked about McAvoy being out, I think that was a huge disadvantage for the U.S. Two of their top players not being able to go, and then that rotation. They were pretty much down to a 10-man rotation on the forwards as well at one point because Chuck was out and then somebody else wasn't really playing. Kreider wasn't even really playing. So uh, tough loss. You can't leave McDavid just wide open in the slot like that.
Austin
Like
Matthews, bro.
he
Come
just
on, dude.
yeah he
Bro.
that's why the
talk
Toronto
about someone who
Maple
he
Leafs won't win
flops
shit.
in. Yeah, he flops in all the biggest games and situations of his life, and he's like
Yeah.
0-7 and all play. I don't even
I mean,
know.
that was his
Enjoy him,
dude.
Toronto.
That was his
Enjoy
Yeah,
dude.
him.
I watched it multiple times. Like he was supposed to cover McDavid and he just didn't. He tried to double someone and they found the
Yeah.
guy. I mean, Marner found him and it was like you can't leave you can't leave
Yeah, why
anybody
would
alone in
you?
the slot
Yeah,
like that, but let alone the best player in the world. Like, come on, bro. That's just hockey 101. But what are you gonna
I mean,
do?
I don't even know hockey, and if it just from what you're saying, if his what's it called job was to guard the best player in the world, and he's going off to double someone else, that just says everything that you need to right there. And I don't know much about hockey, but I mean, like you guys all said, I thought it was a really energetic, fun, upbeat game. I loved watching it personally. I'm not a big hockey guy, but for me, it was. I could tell it was going to go back and forth, like Eric said. It was just kind of foregone that it was going to go to overtime, and unfortunately, like you guys alluded to, that the best player in the world kind of took over at the last second and got the job done.
Sure did. Really great product. I do hope that this sets up for an Olympic matchup this time next year. And great on the NHL to put this together, and hopefully it grows to something more in future years. So 4 Nations, huge success. Uh,
It's a great product for the city too. Like Boston really
yeah,
capitalized on that. They had people all over from Finland, from Sweden, from Canada. Like I was at the Garden on Thursday for that's where I work. I work in that area, and it was electric. Like I saw so many Canadian jerseys. Like there was a lot of people there from all over the world, and it was great to see. It's really great for Boston, so I love that. So put them on the map a little bit, I think. So hopefully we can get some more of these international, to which we are, I think, for the World Cup. So good to
yeah.
see.
Mr. Bobby Kraft definitely going to have a World Cup game or two down there in Foxborough. That'll be incredible. I say this in all sincerity. I do hope that Brazil gets a game up here because the Brazilian
So
population in Framingham, where I pretty much grew up, is
Yeah.
unbelievable. And
so
then go ahead, Kraft.
really quickly, I believe it was 2009 or 2010. They actually did play. Brazil played an
Yeah,
exhibition
yep.
game. I went to that game and it was absolutely. I'll talk about it later in the time capsule. They got a
Fuego.
couple couple.
It was
I got a couple
bonkers.
of
And
great
Fuego.
stories.
Yeah, I
So.
mean, hopefully, in this area for international, I've been to a couple international soccer games at Gillette as well. I had a guy from Costa Rica that every time that the ball would go over
Just
midfield,
wait.
he'd just start to like sit on my lap.
Oh, just wait till the
So,
stories I got for
so
you, man.
yeah, we'll get to that. But one thing we got to get to is the product of hockey after 4 Nations, which in this town is no bueno whatsoever. Gabe, take it away on the Boston Bruins, where we're looking at a poor season.
Yeah. So what the 4 Nations did not do, or it did not set up the Bruins so well, just because the 4 Nations was awesome and the Bruins are not so awesome. So it's like going, so going back to watching the Bruins now is really it's taken a step back. The speed of the game is slower. It's just more turnovers, and you just realize like how special those guys in the 4 Nations tournament really are. Um, I mean, look, yeah, the Bruins played. They got back to it. They lose to the Anaheim Ducks in overtime, 3-2. They put up I guess a decent effort. They went down 2-0 early and came back, but in the end, Leo Carlson kind of put their hopes and dreams away. They still do get a point out of this. I mean, I'm still looking at the wild card standings, and they're still in it somehow. They're still in it. I don't know how. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's trending in the right direction. So that's kind of like the next topic I think we all need to talk about is like, where does this team go? Like, are they buyers? I mean, the
No.
trade deadline is coming up on March 7th, which is not too far away now. February fucking flew by. Um, are we buyers or
No
sellers at
way.
this point?
No
I mean,
way. I've watched too much hockey in my day to, and this team is just they don't have it. They just really don't. Like their bottom six, the bottom what? Yeah, no, bottom six. Yeah, their bottom six forwards are like not they're not good. And like the defense aren't great. They just really don't have a great product. And even if you did add Gabe, it's like what are you gonna do? Maybe sneak out of the first round? Like what?
yeah,
There's no point of buying if you're not gonna actually make a run. That's my point. It's like
especially
you
with
gotta
like
go ahead.
especially with Hampus Lindholm being now he's out for the rest of the season and this whole McAvoy situation. I mean, I've heard he's out for at least 4 to 6 weeks now. So
Shut him down.
like
I don't. Yeah.
why would you buy at this point if all your players are kind of they're almost seem like they're done for the season. Like
So
this
Gabe,
team's
4 to 6 weeks kind of puts you almost at the end of the season,
right.
honestly.
Six
There's,
six weeks
I
does,
mean,
right?
there's really 6 weeks left. Like, they might as well just shut down McAvoy. I'm not trying to be the pest. Like, I'm really not. Like,
No.
it's just that's where they are. That's where they've trended. They had a great like the coaching bump was awesome. Like they were. It was like a false bump, and then January they just really slid that like 6 game losing streak. Like, you really can't come back from that in like the middle of January. It's just not. That's 12 points. Just you just lose. Like it's just they're not. I hate to say it, but they have to sell or stand pat. There's no way they should buy and risk their future. No way.
All right, so I just looked up what their playoff odds were right now, just as of today, with their current record, games they have left, opponents, all that type of stuff. Not even taking into account these injuries. they have a 14.9% chance to make the playoffs. That's not really good. That's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
So if I were in charge of the Bruins, what I would do is trade off a couple pieces that you don't plan to keep long term. See if you can get, like, even if they're rentals, get something for them. Give the kids an opportunity to play throughout the rest of the year. Shut down guys who are hurt, like a Charlie McAvoy. Retool in the offseason. You can come back. You could be a playoff team. You not only can you be a playoff team, you could be a team that's, top team in the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic. You just got to make that decision of we can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And at this point, it doesn't seem like you're getting in the dance, so you might as well step out.
Yeah, and the Bruins, I mean, when you break it all down, they still do have a decent core of players that you can build around, it depending on what you do in the trade that at the deadline if you decide to get rid of them. But in my opinion, you can build around Pasternak, you can build around McAvoy still, and you can build around Swayman, and those are kind of like your three guys that I think are you just move forward with, and the rest you see what maybe draft picks or what you can make happen. I still have hope that like Eric just said, like I don't think it's going to be a complete rebuild. I think it may be another retool. Who knows? I mean, the Bruins have pieces. It's not like the Patriots where the Patriots have absolutely like the only piece they have is Drake May really, and that's what they're banking on. But for the Bruins, they have at least, a few players that can fucking put the puck in the net and defend a little bit.
Well,
So
it's like
that's
take 1 step backwards, take 2 steps forward, right? Like I think instead of this like, oh, we're gonna take 1 step backward or we're gonna take a baby step forward. It's just like you gotta actually make a decision instead of just like hemming and hawing. And
right.
I know Don Sweeney has been a deal maker, and it's time for him, if he wants to keep his job, to see what he can get for some of the players that are on the roster that he put together. And if he does a crappy job with that, then I'm sorry. I'm not sure I want him building the Bruins next year.
Oh, I don't. And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about the Bruins because I don't think they should even get this much talk. We're doing too much. Is you have to look at the organization as a whole. Like, and by what I mean by that is the Providence Bruins too. When was the last time they had a true like great defenseman or forward that came up from Providence? Pasternak did not come up from Providence. Pasternak came right into the dance. Like there weren't many players that they've developed and that's where I think you have to look at like Sweeney and the top and like it's that you can't build from the bottom if you can't build from the top. Like it starts at Sweeney and Cam and like I just they have to really look at themselves and I think there do have to be some changes. They're not going to make the playoffs. This is probably one of the worst years they've had in a long time. Something has to change.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more in terms of everything that was just said. It's disappointing to see, but time to shut down the players that are injured. Time to let some of the kids get experience. So maybe, Josh, we get to see if any of that talent actually has developed and can
True.
do something on the big stage. And you got to retool. I agree, Gabe. I don't think this team is going right down the shitter to bottom of the league territory, but. They got to retool and they got to figure some things out. I'm not opposed to management changes. We all know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Management for the team that is now down at Fenway South brought in Alex Bregman, and his season is off to a start with the first spring training game that it was on the iPad. It wasn't on the big screen. However, you had Garrett Crochet on the mound, what looked to be a pretty regular, lineup across the board. I figured I got to throw this on and see what it is, and it was worthwhile. Kraz, take it away with spring training thoughts from the first, couple games that we've had here. Any of the nonsense as well that's going on down in Fort Myers we can touch on. So the ball and bat is in your hands.
All right. Let's first address the white elephant or the big elephant in the room, and that's the whole Devers at third base situation. I just, now you have another player coming in talking about, Devers, just everyone being a team player. Again, I don't want to talk about how English is his second language, but like, I just feel like the media just asked this guy so many questions, the same question so many times contorted to just get the sound bite that they wanted. Listen, the guy is getting paid 300 plus million for 11 years. Right now, he's our everyday third baseman. Is he going to play 162 games at third? No, he's not. There's not that many people that are playing all 162 games at the position, producing and being a top 20 player.
Cal Ripken did it.
Well, that was the Iron Man. That was in the 90s. So I mean, that's just today's game is about utility and it's about being able to switch positions so you can get your matchups. And that's going to happen. Devers is going to be on the bench. Devers is going to have scheduled days off. You know what? Maybe Devers might take some shots at first base. Who knows? But I think the way that Devers really sees this is he's being attacked for his job. And he's like, wait a second. What the fuck? I just signed $350 million for the next 11 years. I'm your third baseman. And you're telling me now that I'm not because this guy Alex Bregman's coming in. But it goes back to having people that can play all around the diamond in my eyes.
So Sam, I agree with some of the things you said, and I disagree with some of the other things. So I agree that he's gonna have some days off, all that, but I'm gonna throw some facts out there, and I want to have a conversation about this. So Bregman won his first Gold Glove at third base last year, 2024. Gold Glove, like best third baseman, defenseman, third baseman in the league.
Yep.
Rafi over the last 7 years is the only third baseman in the MLB that has had the most errors at his position.
You're correct.
7 straight years. So you want the best product on the field, right? Best defensive product. How can you say that Rafael Devers, who makes the most errors at his position for 7 straight years at third base, is the best option at third base when you just signed a guy that just won a Gold Glove the last year?
Where do you put that? Where do you put Devers?
No, I agree. It could be a split at third base, but I need Devers to be willing for that. And I need him to not go into the media and say, no, like third base is his. Like that's what I don't, I need him to be more of like, just like willing to show that he wants to be a team player. Baseball is a team game. It's not a me game. It's a team game. And that's what I want to see. I don't know. You gotta go up third base and then you have the guy who makes the most errors. Like make sense.
I will make it make sense because it's Bregman's natural position is second base. But he hasn't played that in so many years. Can I finish? Please, let me finish. His natural position is second base, okay? We signed a guy for 11 years for $300 some odd million, who's an average / below third baseman as far as defense goes.
The worst defensive baseman for the last 7 years at his position. Okay. So now we have this conundrum of we had too many options, too many flips. How long do I honestly think Devers is going to be at first for? Probably 2 or 3 years. I don't see him playing at third base longer than that, to be completely honest. Bregman, yeah, you're right. You're completely right. He won Gold Glove at third base. But also at the same time, we have a third baseman here. Where are we going to put him? If it could be a platoon, I just need Devers to be more willing to be a team player and not. But
if that's who he is as a person, you're not going to get that out of him.
That's not great then. But that's not great.
But he might not be saying that to the public, but he could be saying that to his teammates.
That's not great for.
And we don't know.
I think we might find out early in the season and that's going to be huge because if you don't have a clubhouse that doesn't gel, you're not going to go anywhere. Like it's just straight up. Like the idiots of 04 were the idiots because they all gelled together. Like they called themselves
I just think there's too much. There's way too much going on about this. So like, okay, all right. So if you want to put Bregman at third, I'm completely for that. Who are we putting at second base?
One of the kids, Campbell. If he's ready, which we'll find out early on. Okay. If the kid's ready, then that's what you do.
So where's Devers going?
DH.
So where's Yoshida gonna go?
Screw Yoshida. Get rid of him.
Sit him.
He's not even that good.
Sit him.
So you're just gonna eat the money?
Yeah, it's not my money.
Exactly.
Okay.
I want the best product on the field.
All right.
It's not your money either.
There's been listen, I understand both sides of the argument. I think, Devers was under the impression. Now, what I do hope that this does is lights a fire under Devers' ass to get himself into shape, get himself locked in mentally, because that Rafael Devers playing third base and that's in the lineup day in and day out, that is healthy, is one of the best players in Major League Baseball. Let's not kid ourselves.
And he shows flashes at making great plays. I just want him to be consistent at it. And like you said, Plotty, this might make him do that.
Yeah, so I do think our opening day, should everybody be healthy, is going to be him at third, Story at short, and Bregman at second. Now, that's going to be subject to change. And as Krasner was saying, every fucking day in baseball now is a goddamn different lineup with people playing different positions. So don't expect one day to be like the rest. This team has a good problem. They have good players on this team where a guy like Yoshida might be a utility bench player this year as opposed to starting in left field that doesn't know how to play the Green Monster. You know, like this team is different and has been built to go on a run and has depth pieces from both a veteran standpoint and from a prospect standpoint. So the one thing like Kraz that I feel like it doesn't seem is like that you don't like the Bregman signing because he might take over third base for Devers, where it's like
I
I don't.
don't. That's not how I feel at all because we signed him for second base and to platoon at third for some time. I mean, that's why we have him. We haven't had
How can you
a
say you
locked
signed
up
him for
infield.
second base? You signed the
Why?
player.
We signed him for second base, dude. We haven't had a secured middle infield in years since Dustin Pedroia. This is what we're doing. We're securing the middle infield. We
Laser
haven't done
show.
this.
So
I
This
think
is why they signed Bregman, and this is why I want Bregman.
I
This
think
is what I've been
also
saying.
But I've
Greg,
been hearing that this Christian Campbell kid is like the real deal and he's ready.
He
So what
is.
what do you
So that's
do
why
if
there's player
he
opt-outs,
is?
and it's only a 3-year deal.
But if this kid is ready to play, you don't hold him back. You let him play. He's
Then
young.
you shift Bregman to third, you throw
That's
Devers
what
at
I'm
DH.
saying.
all right, 20 minutes in, we
you
got him
can't
to
do that.
acquiesce.
what I'm hoping for is that bringing Bregman in is sharpens iron. Like I hope that it makes Devers want to play harder, like some of you have said so far. Makes him want to get in shape and show us as fans and Bregman and the team that he is capable of playing third base and he can do that. So I'm hoping, like some of you guys have said, that he takes that approach and takes the kind of maybe he feels like someone kind of pulled the rug on him a little bit, and I hope he takes that as an opportunity to get more competitive than to take a step back.
That's the best case scenario is he works on his defense and he becomes better at that. And then if you keep Bregman at second because Devers is competent at third base, that's the best case scenario. But it's nice to have the utility and the option of potentially moving pieces around if you need to have that happen.
I think the
Biggie.
kids are going to play no matter what. I mean, do you think Trevor Story is going to be healthy? I mean, the dude didn't even play 70 games in the last 2 years. Like, there's no chance that he plays over 120 games this year. So, Marcelo Mayer may end up getting up there. Hopefully Christian Campbell gets up there to play some time as well. They got some fun kids that are coming down the pipe. So I'm interested to see like those kids get mixed on in at some point here, and they're our future.
Yeah,
Story definitely looked healthy the other day, but I mean, yeah, like you said, how long is that going to last?
120 games, that's so much for Major League Baseball players at this point. Like you're still looking at over 2/3 of the season. That's a lot of games.
I, look, the discussion that we've just had shows that this team has a roster that's equipped this season, where in years past they haven't. You sort of said if somebody goes down or something happens, where do they go and where do they turn? And this year, there's answers to those questions. You need the full 25-man roster and then some during baseball, as we just alluded to, the longest of
I mean,
seasons.
last year we were talking about hopefully winning like 80 games. Now we're talking about position
Playoffs.
change. Like this, yeah, playoffs and like
Playoffs.
positional changes
Playoffs.
in spring training. Like that's incredible. Like they've completely flipped the switch to
Yeah.
their credit.
And there's
I-
there's passion. Now,
Crochet, yeah.
I do have one question because this guy just speaks out of his ass. Tristan Casas may need to be shipped where?
Ship him out west.
Ship them on out west.
He just might have to go out west because that guy thinks he's the goddamn fucking manager. I mean, he just Pluto. I got to come up with a nickname for him. He might just be Pluto. I might just refer to him as Pluto from here on out for the rest of the season. Pluto Casas there at first base. Just completely on a different planet. But gotta say, it's great to have the Sox getting going here down at Fenway South. They were supposed to play the Yankees today, but it got rained out. So
Did
we'll keep
anybody
our eye.
watch Crochet pitch?
He
Did
did. I
anybody see
did.
it?
He struck out the side in the first inning
He's a
and
big boy.
ran
Did
into
he
a
look good? Yeah, I didn't see.
He's like
He
the
was-
opposite of Sale, like a huge lefty.
He's a hoss.
Badass.
As Lou Merloni
Hoss.
says, he's a pig. He's a pig.
He likes to get dirty.
Yeah, I like it. So no, and Bregman had a great sort of start to the spring training as well. So we'll keep eyes and ears on spring training. Never thought that I would see that, but we sure are, and there's a lot going on down there. So great to have a baseball season to be looking forward to. I am actually
Yeah.
very, very excited to get over to Fenway, get a nice Sam Summer in the belly, maybe 3 or 4, and then you're off to a great time though over there at Fenway.
Maybe a little vodka lemonade in there.
You
Oh
never
yes.
know, you know.
Maybe a
And
little
ooh,
Diet Coke.
I got a good time capsule that just came to me that we'll save for closer to opening day. And let's just do a quick touch on anything NFL, anything Patriots wise, a few notes and nuggets. The combine is this week, but what a fucking joke the combine's become. But JMAT, take it away. NFL Patriots notes. I know that not much on the docket, but
I
anything you
got
want to
nothing.
throw out there. He's
I
got
got
nothing.
honestly like I got there really hasn't been much news of Eric said you heard of something today? Little late
Yeah,
break in.
I heard that Alex Van Pelt is going to the Los Angeles
Oh,
Rams as a special advisor to work under Sean McVay. So, credit to him. He's going to try and reinvent himself and try and learn from McVay and be part of the McVay tree and try and implement some of those concepts wherever he ends up next. I do think the dude got a raw deal here. I think he, was decent with Drake, and I don't think he had a lot to work with on the offense. So, I'm wishing the best for the guy, but I think it's just interesting that he's going to one of the best offensive minds in our game today to, kind of learn and understand where he can implement that stuff in his game going forwards.
speaking
Or
of LA
strategies.
Rams, one thing I heard about them, which I thought was interesting, was I think they're letting Matt Stafford explore the market to see what
Yeah.
his value is. Um, I think that's a little interesting. I don't know because the Cooper Cup trading apparently, like they're apparently going to trade him, and now this is happening. So, um, it's just kind of curious to see what's going to happen out in LA. I know McVay is like he's a great coach, but if signs potentially being on the move, I don't know. That would be very interesting. But
Would Sam Darnold sign there?
It's it's kind of crazy to think about that because that team kind of went toe to toe with Philly in that game in the snow, and
agreed,
really LA wasn't healthy all year at
they could
all.
have won that game.
Their
Yeah,
defense is nasty, just like Philly's
undoubtedly.
is.
Very, very surprising that they're looking to move on. I understand they're older players, but it's like you're like
Yeah.
doesn't feel
You're
like you're in a need to turn it over situation. The
I
combine
got
should go ahead, Gabe. You have some.
there's a little Patriots nugget I picked up on the past week. There was a release of linebacker Simone Taki
Taki
Taki.
taki.
oh Taki.
Taki
Doesn't
taki.
seem like that big of a deal on the surface, but when you look at it a little deeper, Taki Taki was a guy that Elliot Wolf brought in for some veteran leadership in the locker room. I've heard rumblings that this is a good sign that Vrabel has taken over more control of the organization. This seems like a Vrabel move. So I like hearing that out of the Patriots camp. I like hearing that Elliot Wolf is getting a little bit less, maybe, of a role in or a different role maybe in the organization, and Vrabel's definitely taking the lead, which is positive news, I would say.
There was a interesting interview I think I heard from Drake May about he was raving about Vrabel, so I want to listen to that more. But yeah, there's definitely some sound bites out there, but overall, like big
Nothing.
breaking. This is the quiet time in the NFL. This is where everyone's kind of just vacationing, healing their bodies back up for next year. Little quiet on the home front for the Patriots.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure there'll be some news out of the combine, but like today on Felger and Maz, they're talking about how long fucking people's arms are at offensive tackle. It's like, all
I
right,
saw that.
nobody gives a
How
shit
do you
about
measure it
this.
from where to where?
From the clavicle to the end of the middle finger.
They call him
Thank
the
you so
T-Rex
much,
guy or whatever.
Alex Barth. Joe Murray does not want to be a T-Rex, I'll tell you that much. He said he played center, so can definitely see Joe Murray, being at the point of attack there. But Big E, attack something else for us, will you?
All right, guys, can you smell what's about to happen right now?
Oh
It's
wow.
time for our favorite segment of the week.
Sam's turning his headphones down. I saw
The,
it.
the things that are bad, the things that we don't necessarily love, those are yaos, and the things that we love, the things that are fantastic, the things that are wonderful and wondrous. The segment of the week. Can I get it? Oh yeah! Oh
Oh,
yeah!
Oh
oh
And he,
yeah.
he
Sam,
snuck it
turn
in
the
there
headphones
without
back on.
without breaking the
Welcome
mic.
back, Sam.
Krasner's get an oh yeah for this episode is that Krasner has readjusted his positioning with his at-home studio, looking
Looking
fantastic,
fine.
and no R2S2 issues whatsoever. A big oh yeah for tonight's episode.
We do miss you,
R2S2.
R2S2 too, though. We do miss you.
It's produced some amazing content, but who here had our first oh yeah with one Wahlberg brother?
I'll go for it. We got an oh yeah for a potential an act. We've talked about this a lot, but it actually might happen now. WNBA having a Boston team.
Oh yeah.
There's rumors that Donnie Wahlberg and Michael Carter Williams, whatever the hell his name
From
is.
Is he a
Georgetown.
former NBA player?
Yep.
I think
Former
he,
Rookie
he
of the
grew
Year.
up he grew up in
Cool.
Massachusetts, I want to say.
I think
But
Georgetown.
they're looking to purchase an expansion team in Boston for the WNBA, and I think that is a fantastic idea.
Love it.
Fully in for WNBA action at the TD Garden. For now, the Sun number one. However, if there is a team that comes to Boston, we will be the first to be on the bandwagon
It's a
for
good
that.
business decision for the WNBA, honestly.
Oh my God, yeah.
They should do
Absolutely.
it.
So another oh yeah is currently the documentary out on Netflix, which I too am watching. Court of Gold, a fantastic behind the scenes look of the Olympic basketball tournament. Anybody else been able to tune in?
Not yet.
I have not seen it, no.
I got a couple episodes. It is pretty good.
Yeah, I
Like you
think
said, it's a nice behind the scenes look as to the USA basketball. Kevin Durant really in depth look at
Do you
him.
fast forward through the LeBron parts? Is LeBron in it?
he's in it a little bit, but Durant and Curry are really the players they focus on from the U.S. I think that the way that it's set up was sort of how LeBron, KD, and Steph all sort of were like, all right, we want to play after we got beaten by like South Sudan or whoever in that World Cup. Uh, and they were like, it does a really good job of showing how basketball across the world has evolved. And how all of these other countries and the players that play for them, they follow Jokic, and the coach from Serbia is a fucking hoot. They follow Evan Fournier. He's a prick. Just like the biggest Frenchman prick you could ever meet. But then he backs it up with his play. I mean, he had some incredible moments in the Olympics as well. So, he
That may explain why he's been on every team in the NBA, though.
yes. So
Too bad it wasn't Yabusele they were following. That would have
no,
been
Oh
yeah,
my
stupendous.
God.
We had Fournier for a hot second, right?
yeah,
We did.
did.
This season.
Yeah.
We did.
Wow.
So it's a great documentary, really going in depth behind the scenes and getting there. I'm got like an episode and a half to go. Highly recommend checking that out. One thing that I hope I never have to check out again, this is a is the anthems that were sung before the 4 Nations finals, because holy shit, was that two of the worst anthems
Both.
that I've ever heard. Anybody want to chime in on that? Because it was terrible.
I'll play devil's advocate. I thought the woman that sang for the US did a fantastic job personally. That's just me.
I thought she was great, Sam. Okay. I like the US national anthem. I thought it was great. But I don't know if the pops like pumps me up for a hockey game.
Yeah,
Like,
you gotta have like the
you
fucking
know, like-
cymbal guy going like this.
but
It's not-
I do think it was good for what it like. It's a pops. It's she did a great job of what she does. But I just don't. It didn't pump me up for a hockey game. But I did like it.
I don't know. I don't
If
think
that makes sense.
I don't think a classically trained like opera singer should be the one doing the national anthem. And like I like those people are fantastic at what they do. They're like extreme talents with their voice. But what about my dude Todd Angeli? Like,
Give me Todd.
like if
Toddy.
anyone is gonna come out and pump up that crowd, he's done it millions of times. Like not millions obviously, but like thousands. And like apparently word on the street was he was supposed to do it and he got bumped at the last minute by the NHL.
Yeah,
So-
is that their call though? Whose call is
The
that?
NHL's
It's
call.
good. Well, it's the
NHL,
NHL's tournament, so the
Yeah.
NHL has final say over that. And I just think it would have been better if Todd was there. And I think we can all agree the Canadian national anthem, regardless of whatever like the politics and the like changing of like the anthem, it just wasn't good. I've heard
Yeah.
way better renditions of "O Canada," and that was just crappy.
Terrible. It was. I mean, crap. I understand. Now, let me say this. Do I am in no way, shape, or form any type of singer or have any musical gifts whatsoever. So what they do and be able to go up there, good on them. but we've heard much better. I agree about Todd. The only way that they could have gotten rid of Todd and made it any better is if Renee Rencourt had to come through down the little carpet and at the end of, the at the end of the carpet there with 16 fist pumps to get us going. That would have been like the only thing that would have been better than
That place
Todd.
would have lost its mind.
It really would have. So it was no good. Another thing that was no good, and kind of our favor, is Bobby Portis. Just let's take a little tramadol and see what happens here. Oh, nope, can't do that. So, Gabe and Sam, I know you boys have some experience with the physical therapy world and recovery world. So tell us a little bit about how something like this might happen.
So, yeah, I read a little bit deeper into this story because I was curious. I'm a nurse. I work in like orthopedics, similar stuff to what athletes deal with, and I deal with medications such as tramadol, and I also deal with medications such as Toradol, which is another pain medication, but not a narcotic, which is what Bobby Portis took the narcotic by accident, he says. Um, when I was first my first job out of nursing school, I had to deal a lot with those two drugs, and the amount of times I was like had to keep looking at it because it sounds so similar, like tramadol, Toradol, tramadol. Which one am I giving? Thankfully, the computer tells you like if you pick the wrong one, but uh,
That's crazy.
It's
It
a
doesn't happen to
delicate
Bobby.
balance
It's probably
system.
happened to Bobby, you know? They
so
have a
I don't know.
computer.
I mean, I do believe that. I mean, he could have. Someone could have administered him the wrong drug. He has no idea what the hell he's taking. As long as it makes his pain feel better, I think that's all he cares about. So I could see some truth in that story. I don't know, but he got the hammer put down on him. 25 games for that's crazy.
Kraz, any experience with the tramadol Toradol situation?
Yeah, no, I have to agree with Gabe. If they just hand you something and say take this for your pain and you take it and your pain goes away,
Yeah,
I
you're
mean
not.
you don't really
So
know what you're taking.
are those injectables or are they pills? Like the tramadol, Toradol.
Both.
Tramadol's, yeah, they
So
come
are
in
they
all
giving
different.
him? So are they giving him a pill, or are they like are they just probably someone literally just giving it to him? You think, or like
Yeah,
literally
he
they're like
probably he,
they're like
he
take
probably got a
this,
pill. He probably got a pill,
or is
to
he
be
like opening the
honest.
bottle and like act like knowingly like taking the tramadol?
No, I think,
Someone's
yeah.
handing him a pill.
Yeah, okay.
And it's just a generic white looking
We don't.
round
Yeah, who
pill,
knows?
like,
I
You're
wouldn't
yeah,
know.
so
Doesn't have
you're
tramadol or Toradol inscribed in it. This
they should.
yeah, it really should. Sucks for Bobby Portis, but good
Man,
for
this
us in
Toradol
the
seems different.
in the in the in the Bucks. We'll see how they fare without him because he's definitely an important piece for them.
He is, yeah.
Another important piece and some things going on down in San Antonio. Where Wemby now out for the season with some unfortunate blood clot situation. And Coach Popovich, who's been out pretty much it looks like he's going to be out for the season now,
Mhm.
suffered a stroke at the beginning of the season and doesn't seem like he's healthy enough. So any comments on just things in San Antonio going on? Big E.
They are tanking for Cooper Flag because they wanna put Cooper Flag with Wembanyama, that kid that they just drafted, Castle,
Oh,
and
he's nasty.
with Fox. So like I understand what they're doing. They're basically, and I do think Wembanyama does have an injury. So like I don't want to make light of that. Like I do think the dude has a blood clot. They clearly wouldn't shut him down if he didn't. But I think like this could potentially work out in the Spurs' favor where he gets able to get healthy. It's not a Chris Bosh like situation, and they could potentially get another generational talent in Cooper Flag.
Do you
And look at
think
San Antonio go.
do you think that Philly, given the position that they're in the standings, now goes and tanks and tries to go for Cooper Flag as well?
They
Because if
should.
I'm them, I think
Yeah.
there's no point in trying to
I
make the
think
playoffs.
I read
Not those
reports
pros.
Embiid is already like looking for like new options for his knee, so I think he might shut it down, honestly.
he
And
should.
that team is gonna, wow, what a fall from grace. I
Oof.
mean,
At some point, do you think he moves on from Philly too? Like I think,
absolutely.
he's his window for a championship, I think is closing faster than,
I,
a lot of us think.
I think Philly's getting sick of him, and I think he might be getting sick of Philly. Honestly, I think I might be getting mutual there.
I don't know
Well,
how
look
much
at all
time he
the
has left.
I no, and that I don't know if he can be a number one player on a team to take him all the way there. He can never stay healthy, and I mean, going back to our discussion about Tatum, he really, when he came in that game 6 and was 1 of 14, and then went on that spree at the end, and then they won that game, and he went off for 50 in that game 7. I mean, that pretty much put an end to the 76ers having any sort of shot at anything. They played some great series. Kawhi hits that shot in game 7, one of the most iconic shots in NBA history over Embiid at the end of that game. So like, they were on the precipice and just could never get over the hump. But now Embiid is chronically injured, out of shape, has, an elderman and fucking Paul George who sucks now, and Maxi's a great player but can't do it on his own at 6 feet tall. So uh,
Just
I
just
love seeing it though.
quick Cooper Flag thought. Like, I think there are a lot of teams that are going to be vying for him that could be really interesting and really good for years to come. A team like Charlotte, they got some really good young players. You got LaMelo Ball. They got that the other guy that they have at guard that's really good. Like, they have, like, if they get someone like Cooper Flag, that team could take off. Like, it's real. He really is like such a difference maker, and it's hard to say that for some guy who hasn't played in the league yet. But he was on the U.S. select team playing with, or no, not the select team. He was on the Olympic team. Like, he was playing with real dudes, and they said he's the real deal. So I believe it.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a great talent, and it's awesome. We got a lot of college basketball talk that we'll start to integrate, especially as we move to
I was just
conference
gonna say, do you
tournaments,
think
and
Duke wins the Natty?
they're poised to make a run, man. They're poised to
We
really
need
go
Trevor.
after it this year. They're
I
they're
think
one
the
of
SEC is just way too strong.
We need our
yeah,
boy
it's
Trevor Haas's opinion.
Auburn
Yeah,
is a wagon right now.
yeah.
yeah.
We can definitely we'll get some I'll get some insight from Trevor, see what he's thinking. Um,
I have
let's
one quick oh yeah
yeah,
that I
yeah,
wanted to
go.
mention. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Celtics documentary coming up on HBO, Celtic City, coming out on March 3rd. 3-3 little Larry Bird nod right there, you think maybe potentially? I
yeah.
don't
Hell
know.
yeah.
100%.
It could be, could be.
What's
I
that
think
next on Monday? Next Monday?
I'm not sure when 3-3 is.
Next week. Yep.
Is it, yeah, it's next week because February's a quick month.
It's on next Monday. Yep.
So it's going to be, I believe they're going to talk about um the evolution of the Celtics of the year, from decade to decade. I think you have interviews from our late great Bill Walton even in there before he passed. So something to really look forward to. So big oh yeah for that coming up, and it's going to be HBO. HBO always puts on great documentaries, so really looking forward to that.
Shout
Yeah,
out to Bill Simmons for putting that together.
yeah. If you haven't, if you have a listener who hasn't heard of that or seen it, check out the trailer. It gets your blood pumping. It looks like a good one.
Yeah, should be good. Looks like the team had a nice event for that over the weekend as well. So excited for that. Didn't even know that was happening until they put some stuff out this weekend. So catch that starting next week. We're going to do a quick time capsule that we sort of touched on a little bit earlier in the show, and that inspired by the 4 Nations and the international friendliness that it brought to the city of Boston. We were talking about some of the soccer games. Kraz, looks like you had a story or two you wanted to dive into, but then the floor is also open to any international sporting events, moments, games that you've watched or been to, that you have any memories from that sort of strike anything. Kraz, why don't you tell us what your story was from that game back with Brazil, and then we will open it up to what I just asked.
Yeah, I mean, no, I was just gonna say it was just really, at the time, really being into soccer, playing for not only my high school but also the state, to be able to go see the guys that I was YouTubing, uh, was especially those international guys, it's pretty surreal. Ronaldinho and Kaká and all those guys. So yeah, no, that was really it. I mean, it was completely out of control as far as tailgating goes. It blew away anything the Patriots honestly ever did. I mean, it was I can't even describe it. It was literally like Bourbon Street. It was just full of yellow jerseys everywhere. It was one of the most epic things I'd ever seen.
I
Yeah.
think the most epic international game that I remember, or the most memorable at least, I don't know if it was the most epic, but was the one with France at the World Cup where the guy headbutted the other guys and like
Zinedine Zidane.
Zinedine Zidane, yeah, he headbutted the other guy in the championship round. So I don't know,
France,
that was
Italy, right?
I
Yep.
think it was Italy, yeah. So that was memorable. That was probably like way back in
Oh
like
six or
'06,
2010.
yeah, something
That
like that.
was that was a
So
good one.
um, other than that, I mean, Yeah, the international stuff, it's really cool. I love it. I wish baseball would kind of get onto that level a little bit more, like the WBC, like maybe more in season, maybe in like July, kind of take a page out of what hockey did, like take 2 weeks off and maybe get a real competitive baseball thing in there. I think that could be really cool. So I hope they do that. Something different.
Yeah, Big E. Any
I
overseas stories?
I'm not nothing's coming really to the top of my head right now. I will say I do like these like new international formats like the 4 Nations, maybe taking over a little bit more as opposed to like some of the All-Star games we talked about last week. At the NBA, you could definitely do it. You could have USA, you could have Canada, you could have
France.
Australia, France. Like, there's plenty of nations that you could get together for a little like mid-season tournament like the NHL just did. So yeah, it's cool to see the NFL and the NBA and all these different organizations kind of expand beyond, our borders and get other nations involved, and I'm all for it.
I would say like one of my favorite international like experiences was I studied over in the UK in Manchester, and I made really good friends with the people that I went there with. They were people from all over Europe, and I ended up going out to visit those guys about 2 years after I graduated while they were still in school. And when I was out there, it was around St. Patty's Day, and they had Six Nations on. And I didn't know what Six Nations was, but for those of you that don't know, there's a great documentary about it on Netflix. But Six Nations is a rugby tournament that takes place with like Six Nations. It's Ireland, Wales, Scotland, England, Italy, and then I'm sorry, I forget the last country. I think it might be
What's that
France.
Six Nation?
Whatever, who cares? Like it was just cool though, and like people got up for it. Like people were getting up for USA, and Canada hockey, and I just think sometimes we also forget like there are other sports out there besides the ones that we
Absolutely.
follow, and rugby is one that does have a huge international following.
No doubt. Shout out Nate Ebner, rugby player for Team USA back in the day. For me, a few things stick out. I think going back, the women have really dominated from the US on the international circuit for a very long time. Obviously, I think we talked about over the summer, the women's basketball team, I think, has won something like 8 gold medals in a row. I think one of the most memorable soccer moments is when Brandy Chastain scored that goal. I think it's 1999, and had the famous celebration where she took her jersey off. So that's definitely one.
Take
Um,
it off.
and I think it's fantastic that the World Cup is coming to this area next year. It brings a lot of passion, and as Josh said the other day, to welcome people from across the world into Boston, and for them to even people from America that came to Boston. The Barstool Chicago guys, a few of them came out here and were just commenting on how well the city hosted it, and like it's shitty. If you're walking around Boston right now, it fucking blows. Like there's puddles and slush and fucking 6 inches of
Ice.
standing water everywhere. It is miserable. Our public officials could get a plow or two out there or something. God damn it. My goodness. But anyways, enough griping about local government here. Anything else that we want to touch on, fellas? We've reached the end of the episode where we're going to take our exit right onto the pike and preview the week ahead then. Celtics with a slate of games. Celtics and Bruins taking on Toronto tomorrow in each of their respective sports.
Oh,
So
that's
a
cool.
Bruins Toronto Maple Leafs matchup.
USA, USA.
He
Going
can still do
going
Let's
it.
for the
go.
U.S. sweep. Then the Celtics take on our friends, the Detroit Pistons. Haven't gotten to our annual game yet this year, but Pistons, gotta give them some credit. They've turned their ship completely around, 31
Yeah.
and 26, after what I think they had only won 31 games in the last 3 seasons combined, and have won 31 games this year.
I
So
looked at courtside tickets, what they would cost in Detroit for a game, or for this game specifically. $220.
No
Oh,
way.
let's get on a flight.
Honestly, yeah, wow, that's
to go
crazy.
to Detroit, it probably would be cheaper to get courtside
You could probably
tickets.
get $100
And fly
And
flight.
a hotel night
Right. Yeah.
for one ticket at
than
a
to do it in
Celtics game.
Boston.
That's
Well,
Tempting.
tempting.
But the
Wow.
atmosphere wouldn't be the same.
not on. I don't know
No,
how lit
it'd be all
Wednesday night.
green.
Yeah, but the
Wednesday night
Celtics
in
play
Detroit
great on the
is.
road. It's worth
They
It's
it.
sure
true, they
do.
do.
Damn.
Road doggies. And I don't know if anyone saw that Porzingis clip, but that was a go look that up. That was a good one. Bruins versus the Islanders Thursday. Celtics versus JMAT's Cavs on a Friday night. And then Bruins versus Minnesota on Sunday. National game on TNT. And the Celtics take on Denver Sunday in another matinee matchup, potential playoff preview.
The NBA
Team,
loves them. They're
I
giving them
know.
all the matinee
Well, and
matchups.
those two games for the Celtics versus the Cavs
Huge.
and versus Denver, are great measuring stick games here at this point of the season. So there'll be a lot of good stuff to talk about next week. We'll obviously keep our eyes on spring training as well, what's going on down at the fort. And without anything else on the docket, boys, let's call it a night. It's good to see all your beautiful faces.
It's great
Good
to
to see
see
you
you as
guys.
well.
See y'all.
It's
It's a
agreed.
good one.
All right, near, far, wherever you are, we thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Take care.
All right,
Sarge
bro.
salute.
Later.